Chapter 1483. Chinamo, marry me. Since it was a lighting image, with the help of fireworks, the words weren't unchanging. The 6 words were not unchanging. Instead, they were like a slideshow, like the petals of a rose that had bloomed and gathered together. It was as though a small game had been designed on the surface of the building. The children in the square lifted their heads, their eyes wide as they asked curiously, "Mommy, what is that?" That. The mother paused, momentarily forgetting to reply, her eyes still filled with shock. Not to mention the couple strolling by the side. The girl was envious, reaching out to cover her lips, sighing. If there was a guy who treated me like that, I would definitely marry him. With that, she tilted her head, sweeping a glance at her boyfriend. The boy held the candied hawthorn in his hands. His first reaction was, F***ck, which brother came up with this, wasting so much time and effort, how could he live? But after half a second, he realized a problem. Wifey, go away, who's your wifey? The girl narrowed her eyes, unhappy. No, I mean, think about it, just think about it, which girl is called Chinamo? The boy argued. The girl stilled. She really hadn't thought about it. The words didn't disappear. Half a second later, it became brighter, so beautiful it was hard to ignore. Opposite the building was the interview stage. There were obviously people there. The Xiangnan team came out of the interview room. Someone was chatting with the manager. Xiangnan's manager was different from Supreme Alliance's. He was a middle-aged man who would smile at anything, like a Maitreya Buddha. Zhao Sanpang had been listening to their chat, but he couldn't sit still. He stretched his neck, wanting to ask when his captain was leaving. His fans were still waiting for him to go on air. Who would have thought that when he glanced to the side, he would see the 6 glittering words on the other side, as if they were free. With a loud bang, he straightened his back. The interviewer looked over at him. Even the manager signaled for him to be quiet. Zhao Sanpang scratched his head, whipping out his phone to send a message in the WeChat group, tagging 2 people. You guys did it on purpose. Little Spade. Come out. Come out. Come out. The main character didn't come out, so the others all sent a yawning emoji. Someone even asked with concern, were you tortured again? Zhao Sanpang added, they're from the pedestrian walkway. Open the window and look outside. In less than a second, WeChat exploded. F***ck. Holy shit. Let me digest first. I feel that Xiangnan's impact is greater. They are doing an interview opposite. I won't say anything else. I'm so handsome, yet no one has proposed to me. The moment the phone vibrated, Beauty Luo and Captain Xiao saw the message and looked over. With that, the interviewer stopped talking. After all, Zhao Sanpang's absent-mindedness was so obvious. Even the other 2 followed the interviewer's gaze and looked over. That interviewer was stunned. Propose to young Master Qin? Propose? Propose? He was probably not mistaken. Who could it be? So powerful. Chapter 1484. Even Zhao Sanpang had said so. She could imagine the scene in the WeChat group. Basically, she had figured out the routine. This was a public display of affection. There was nothing else. Bo Jiu acknowledged this point. In the past, they could only show affection in front of the car. Now, it was different. They could declare their sovereignty. But speaking of which, Bo Jiu wasn't sure. From the start, she knew that a family like the Qin group wouldn't allow someone to marry into their family. In addition, little Princess Qin's personality. Bo Jiu thought about this and wanted to say something. Just then, a voice rang in her ears. Very beautiful. So, should she agree or not? Bo Jiu wanted to know. However, she saw him reach out his hand, and his fingertips brushed across her face as if he was wiping something dirty for her. The touch was slightly cold, but strangely comfortable. Let's go. That was it? Bo Jiu looked at the hand that was holding her. The joints were distinct, fair and slender. It was indeed beautiful. But, should she agree or not? After getting into the car, Bojo felt that she had to end things quickly. She placed one hand over, an unknown emotion in her eyes. She was about to speak. Suddenly, a kiss landed on her lips. Bojo paused. Chin Mo decided to stay in this position, pulling her into his arms. His gaze was noble. Not cold? It's all right. That wasn't the main point. Bojo really didn't manage to finish it in one go. How should she put it? Just, Chin Mo interrupted her, his voice slow. Didn't I already give you my household register? MMH? Bojo arched a brow. Chin Mo pushed her hair aside. I've been yours for a long time. Are you the only one who realized this? Bojo's eyes lit up. Her handsome face was a little arrogant. That's not it. I just want to make our relationship more legal. She wasn't a person who followed the rules. But being with little Princess Chin was the only time she wanted to follow the rules. It will be legal. Chin Mo had never been so soft-hearted before. The person in his arms was always like this. She looked like a fox that could leave any time, but in reality, she was more sentimental than anyone else. Chin Mo was glad that he had known since he was young that he had to monopolize such a person. Because there was such a person. It was like a black pearl covered with dust. It looked dark, but once it was placed in the night, it was bright and transparent. We'll get married when you're of age. Chin Mo chuckled lightly, his voice resonating in her heart. I'll marry into the Bo family. What did this sentence mean? Bojo was very clear. If they had children in the future, their surname would only be Bo, not Chin. Moreover, the family of hackers needed to be passed down. This meant that he couldn't join the army, which was against all the rules of the Chin family. What about the Chin family? Bojo was elated, so elated that she paused slightly when she mentioned the most important question. Your mother is a fan of movie Queenan. If you want to be the heir of the Chin family, you can have another child with her while you're still young, but there's one thing. What is it? Bojo arched a brow. Chapter 1485. Everyone in the world knew that her greatest wish was to bring Chin Xiaoma home and raise him. Now, it had come true. Bojo was overjoyed. MMH, I'll take care of you. Will you follow me back to Fifth Avenue? Sure. Chin Mo smiled. Once I get into university, you can go wherever you want. Bojo's eyes lit up. There are so many places I want to go, Kunlun, Mount Everest, Kukushili and other places, one place a year. Chin Mo pinched her face. As long as a certain someone isn't so mischievous. Bojo smiled suavely. I've always been obedient in front of a beauty. Chin Mo arched a brow. Beauty? This person never seemed to know who the real beauty was. Bojo wanted to say something since she was too happy. But before she could open her mouth, her breath was stolen. This kiss was different from the previous one. It was domineering and unstoppable. The slightly cold lips weren't gentle anymore, instead, they seemed to be stealing all her thoughts. Even the tip of her tongue had a lingering peppermint fragrance. He only released her when her entire body was numb. He freed one hand and sent a WeChat message. The gist of it was basically, you guys are interrupting me from agreeing to a certain someone's proposal. Hearing the slightly cold voice, Bojo realized that a few buttons on her shirt had been unbuttoned. From a certain perspective, it was indeed an interruption. He also glanced at her, reached out his hand, and fastened the buttons of her shirt one by one. His gaze was very deep. The phone exploded. One could imagine the situation in the WeChat group. Zhao Sanpang was the first to speak. Kick him out of the group. Agree. Agree +1. But it was useless. Chin Mo asked, are you jealous? He pulled the hatred towards him to the highest level. But that wasn't the end. Chin Mo continued, Hoshino should be in this group too. I don't have to inform him about my proposal. Zhao Sanpang, you finally did something a support should do. Zhao Sanpang, Hoshino, you see Xin. Every team member felt as though they had witnessed Qin Mo's shamelessness once again. Regarding this point, Bojio felt that the Almighty was playing tricks on her. Just one sentence, after she entered university. It had been almost a month. Everyone could basically see that the extremely handsome man was holding a book in his hand wherever he went. There was also a time when the blonde from second middle school saw it and was completely shocked. One had to know that although the results of the experts were good, it was really not like them to love learning so much. After all, the two of them had done frog jumps together. This was something only those who skipped class were qualified to do. Idol, you've changed. The yellow hair was very pained. You've really changed. Bojio smiled with the green foxtail in her mouth. What do you know? I'm preparing to marry the Almighty. After the Asian Cup. The entire Supreme Alliance was on holiday. There are only a few interviews to be done. She didn't want to show her face. It was a long rest. Of course, she would take this opportunity to study hard. However, no matter how strong the Supreme Alliance was or how much glory they had won, they would never be able to win. There were still many people who disliked Spadesy. Chapter 1486. Supreme Alliance did have its drawbacks. But it wasn't a coincidence. Every team would have its own problems when they reached their peak. It was the same for Supreme Alliance. They treated every match as though it was their last. It wasn't just passion, it was also because Supreme Alliance's lifespan wasn't that long. Not to mention Yin Wuyao's age. Moreover, most esports players were 18 or 19 years old. After 24 years old, their condition would deteriorate day by day. It sounded cruel, but it was the most realistic truth. That also meant that Supreme Alliance was aging. It wasn't just Yin Wuyao, there was also Lin Feng, Yunhu, and even Qin Mo. They had at most 2 years left in their professional esports career. Moreover, before the Asian Cup, Lin Feng and Yunhu had the thought of retiring. After the Lin family collapsed, they relied on the company to support them. Lin Feng looked innocent, but in reality, he was more responsible than anyone else. In the past, when the Lin family was doing well, he didn't have to care about anything and just be the young master of the courtyard. But now, it was different. Lin Feng could sense it from the way he treated others. But on the surface, he didn't care. In reality, Lin Feng wouldn't ignore the responsibility just because he was happy in the competition. Including after Supreme Alliance won the Asian Cup, he immediately started running projects outside. Yunhu asked him out several times. Of course, he didn't ask him out alone. He asked the people in the courtyard to gather together. Lin Feng rejected him several times because he was busy. The people standing beside Yunhu probably noticed something. They were still in the tea house. One of them laughed. Little boss Lin is really busy now. How about this, I'll make a call and talk to him about our previous collaboration. With that, he made the call in front of Yunhu. His motive was to make Yunhu happy. Yunhu held the teacup in his hand and didn't look at him. But that person understood that he couldn't hold it in anymore. He wanted to meet someone too much. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given him face. Lin Feng didn't pick up quickly. When his voice traveled over, it sounded like the wind. Jia, what's wrong? Nothing much, I'm just calling you out for a gathering. Say, we grew up in the same yard, and it's been a long time since we last met. You said that you need to take care of your feathers during the competition, and now that you're on vacation, there's nothing wrong with hanging out a little longer. Song Jiahe was eloquent. You can't go wrong listening to me. I still have plenty of opportunities. Lin Feng glanced at the watch on his wrist and paused for a moment. Alright, where are you? Same old place, the tea house we used to frequent in the past. Song Jiahe glanced over at Yunhu. Lin Feng didn't talk much when he was driving. After all, he wasn't in the team, so his personality was much calmer. He didn't talk much anymore. After all, this was the biggest taboo in the business world. The less he spoke, the fewer mistakes he would make. Because no matter what you said, as long as the other party had the intention, they would find faults in your speech. That was why in the business world, people would talk less and do more. If Bo Jiao saw this side of Lin Feng, she would probably be in disbelief. But humans seem to be like this. Their personalities were multifaceted and they had a layer of camouflage to better integrate into society. Chapter 1487. But it was just a glance. Lin Feng roughly understood what was going on. No matter how naive he was, he knew who it was for. Song Jiahe had always been a liar. If not, the Song family's business wouldn't be so big. When he saw him, he immediately stood up and placed the teacup down. Young Master Lin, busy man, why are you standing at the door? Come in. Lin Feng walked in. After all, he came from the same courtyard. Even though things were different now, it wasn't much. After the decline of the Lin family, Lin Feng had met these people and understood the difficulty of asking them to do things for him. It wasn't like novels where they would mock you in front of your face. They were just friends who ate meat and drank with him in the past. Suddenly, they stopped contacting him. They would avoid him during gatherings. From a certain perspective, he seemed to represent bad luck. Song Jiahe was the one who didn't care about such things. Whenever there was a festival, he would definitely receive red packets. But it wasn't like today. Lin Feng felt that it was rather boring. People who hadn't experienced it wouldn't understand. When you were prosperous, there would be people following you around. When you have nothing, anyone who knows you will feel that you are unlucky. But with Yunhu around, Lin Feng's value was different. When Lin Feng raised his head, he had mostly calmed down. He walked over and sat beside Yunhu. There was only one empty seat. He removed his trench coat and hung it behind the chair. He took out a cigarette from the box on the table. Song Jiahe's mission was to invite Lin Feng out. If he interfered with other matters, he would be afraid that person wouldn't agree. He filled the teacup casually and heated up the atmosphere so that it would be easier for the two of them to talk. Yunhu didn't beat around the bush. Angry? Lin Feng's hand paused and he turned to look at him. Yunhu looked at him, his gaze deep. I asked you out but you didn't come. I had to change the method. How dizzy. Lin Feng took a sip of tea. Can't you tell me over the phone? Yunhu remained calm. There's no atmosphere for a conversation. At this moment, Lin Feng was reminded of the Yun family's teachings. There were countless rules and regulations. There's an atmosphere for a conversation now. Lin Feng smiled. After all, everyone has to give you face. Yunhu could tell that he wasn't happy. But he had no choice. He wanted to see someone. He didn't know if that person did it intentionally or not. It didn't seem like hiding, but it was impossible to say that nothing had happened. If it was someone else. Yunhu's methods had long been used. To be able to make someone like Song Jiahe work for him. It wasn't just because of the Yun family. This showed Yunhu's usual behavior. But it was him. Yunhu gripped the teacup in his hand, slowly releasing it one by one. His fingers were long and slender, his voice faint. Fortunately, you still have the face to let me use it. Lin Feng didn't say anything. After all, he knew that this matter couldn't be blamed on anyone. After all, there was already a gap between the two of them. This was a reality that could not be changed. Yunhu didn't think so. The Asian Cup is over, but are you not planning to return to the team? Chapter 1488. I don't remember, Yunhu replied faintly. Lin Feng arched a brow. You don't remember? He said how great it was to play sports, just by playing games and doing commentary, there would be a bunch of girls who liked him. He also said that there were so many beauties in the team and he wouldn't have to worry about finding a partner. With the captain as a template, he was a winner in life. In the end, he didn't even see a single beauty, just a bunch of rotten bachelors. It was worse than a university dorm. I almost fell in love with my computer. I didn't even have enough time to sleep. It was like a monk's life. Isn't it good? We won the national championship. That was what Yunhu said, but in his heart, he was thinking, I didn't join Supreme Alliance for any other reason. After Feng Yi convinced you, he understood that he was indirectly trying to convince me. Lin Feng placed his teacup down and leaned back. It was indeed good, the national championship, the Asian Cup. This is what we have always wanted. After so many years, we finally got it. But esports has always been a youthful industry. My condition can't always be this good. Besides, you should have felt it, I'm starting to deteriorate. This has nothing to do with anything else, it was just a natural reaction after reaching an age. Yunhu didn't reply because he knew Lin Feng was speaking the truth. Even if they wanted to, they wouldn't be able to stop it. Lin Feng glanced at the ceiling. It was really good when we were young, it was really good to play games, but there was no other way. I would grow up one day and so would you. Ever since Supreme Alliance was established, we have been through so many things. When we weren't doing well, people looked down on us and anyone could take advantage of us because we weren't recognized by the mainstream. It wasn't easy for us to persevere until the Asian Cup. They made our captain and Little Spade retire in order to achieve the perfection in their hearts. The scariest thing in this world isn't the darkness, we survived it, the scariest thing is probably the darkness again. I can't care about it, I don't want to talk about the fame and fortune, I want to retire. Yunhu's fingers paused. Of course, that's next year. Lin Feng lifted his arm. I can't bear to leave everyone. Yunhu glanced sideways at his face, but he couldn't see anything. Just as he had said, this person had grown up. Even if he was a little tired, he wouldn't be the same as before. He wouldn't act like he did in the past. He looked at him and just smiled. Yunhu couldn't describe the feeling in his heart. It was very uncomfortable. However, she also felt that this person was ridiculously handsome when he turned into a man. Lin Feng took another sip of tea. I wonder what kind of words Fox Feng will use when he recruits people this year. You don't have to bluff me. Yunhu smiled, which was rare for him. Lin Feng thought about it and said, that's true, there's no need to bluff them. If they really can't find a partner, they can still deal with it internally. With Little Spade and Captain there, do you know that Zhao Sanpeng almost jumped out of the phone? Yunhu glanced at him. You still know how to digest it internally? Lin Feng smiled. Why don't I know? Yunhu didn't want to continue the conversation since there were other people around. He didn't care, but he knew that Lin Feng had his own concerns. Especially in this kind of situation, he probably didn't want to feel that way. Chapter 1489. If we meet in the future, there's no need to do such a thing. Lin Feng played with the teacup. In front of Yunhu, he still couldn't change his bad habits. Even though he wouldn't say anything in the business world, there was no knowing what was in a person's heart. The more he said, the easier it was to be misinterpreted. But Lin Feng thought about it. This was Yunhu, not someone else, so he just said it directly. Yunhu chuckled. All right. This time, the two of them left together. Yunhu didn't drive over. 80% of it was intentional. The onlookers saw it clearly. When he sent them off, Song Jiahe was still smiling, looking at Yunhu with a deep gaze. Yunhu only showed him the side of his face. Song Jiahe immediately restrained himself. Lin Feng's next actions proved that he was still Lin Feng. Even though the Lin family had failed, his temperament was still there. He patted his shoulder with a smile and casually threw him a cigarette. Contact me when you're free. He was still free and easy. That face was beautiful, but upon closer inspection, it became more angular. Song Jiahe roughly understood why his biggest partner couldn't bear to part with this person from the Lin family. He introduced many people to him. he always told them to scram. But he never said anything harsh in front of him. It was probably because he had been through so much, but he still had a trace of youthful spirit. Of course, there were people who looked for young shampoo. But that was different. Lin Feng had something different. For the people in their circle, as long as their families failed, they would lose all their edges and become extremely decadent. Even though Lin Feng wasn't the same as before, it was strange that he could still be like this after accepting everything. Song Jiahe was a social network person. He knew the attitude people had towards Lin Feng. That subtlety could sometimes destroy many people. In the past, Song Jiahe had always thought that young Master Yun was interested in Lin Feng's looks. After all, there weren't many people with such integrity in their circle. But it depended on who wanted it. If it was young Master Yun, there would be a bunch of people coming for him without even saying a word. Now, Song Jiahe understood that it had nothing to do with looks. It was probably because he liked Lin Feng for too long. Or as people often said, good-looking skin is the same, but interesting souls are 1 in a million. Only young Master Yun himself knew what kind of Lin Feng he liked. Song Jiahe had always known that he was just a pimp in the eyes of others. Speaking of which, this was his first time pimping someone so pure. Just for a meeting? Song Jiahe looked at the two of them and put the cigarette in his mouth. They were really ruining his reputation. He, young Master Song, had never done such a pure and affectionate business. Some people probably didn't understand. They were used to seeing power and sex deals. When they looked at the two of them again, they always felt that this was probably what love looked like, even if they weren't together. In reality, even though Lin Feng was enjoying himself, when Yun Hu sat beside him, he couldn't help but want to say something. The distance between them was too close, so close that he could even smell the aroma of the tea on his body. In addition, the two of them were in the car. It felt a little weird when it was quiet. After all, he was the one who started the conversation. Fox Feng told us to gather at the club tomorrow. Have you received the message? Yun Hu glanced at him, replying slowly, I was the one who informed you. Lin Feng. Chapter 1490. Too many things have happened recently, my brain isn't working well. Lin Feng coughed lightly, lowering the window. Let's get some fresh air, it's stuffy in the car. Yun Hu didn't expose his clumsy acting since he was well aware of his explosive personality. Hence, he glanced out of the car. Even so, Lin Feng still felt that the atmosphere was indescribable. After all, he couldn't continue the awkward conversation. Just as he was hesitating about what to do, a message saved him. In the past, he hadn't liked receiving such messages. After all, no one liked being fed dog food. However, Little Spade had recognized him as a brother and would ask about his captain's preferences. After he was done, he would ask him with an enigmatic smile, when are you going to start dating? Lin Feng felt that the first part was just a prelude, the last part was the fatal blow to the single dog. Today, the message was finally delivered in a different way. I heard you are with Almighty Yun. I have 4 movie tickets here, as an important supporting role. I sincerely invite you and Almighty Yun to help me boost the box office. Box office? With his goddess, movie queen and supporting them, how bad would the box office be? Besides, everyone knew that the movie was selling like crazy. Little Spade wasn't asking him to go for the box office. He couldn't fall for it. But, oh right, I forgot to mention, here's a signed uniform from your goddess, I'll pass it to you when you arrive. This nickname was given to Bo Jiao by Little Spade. After reading her message, he was in a dilemma, debating whether to go to the Yun family's house or the cinema. After all, if he went to the Yun family's house and saw his godmother, she would definitely invite him over for a cup of tea. Normally, she would ask him to stay over. In comparison, going to the cinema wasn't as awkward. With that in mind, Lin Feng asked, are you free later? Little Spade invited us for a movie, do you want to go? Yun Hu turned off the message, replying with a natural, MMH, the naive Lin Feng could tell that it was a ploy, but he hadn't expected it to be a trap. On the other hand, Bojo smiled lightly, her thin lips lifting as she replied, "You're welcome, see you at the cinema." Speaking of which, she hadn't watched a movie with the Almighty. This was the perfect opportunity. Bojo packed up quickly since she had mastered the technique. After putting on the trench coat, she first put on a black mask, then one for the Almighty. Chin Mo arched a brow and placed the book down. "What are you doing?" "After studying so hard for so long, I've decided to give myself a reward." When Bojo smiled, the mole under her eyes was obvious. "Let's go watch a movie." Chin Mo glanced up, his aura noble. His voice was deep because of the mask. "Little Bojo, do you need me to remind you how many days are left until the college entrance examination? Or do you not want to marry me? Do you want to abandon me?" Only the Almighty would be able to ask a girl to marry him without any hesitation. Bojo replied with a serious expression, "I think we should nurture our relationship. The fans are saying that we haven't had enough dog food recently." Chapter 1491. This was the downside of being an old married couple. Little Princess Chin was no longer the person whose ears would turn red with every word she said. Bojo glanced over. She didn't fall for his trap. She supported herself on the chair with one hand and kissed his lips through the mask. That position was rather handsome. This time, she should be able to conquer the Almighty. Bojo thought. Before he could react, he was pressed into the chair by the other party. The mask was removed in the next second and thrown onto the floor. Bojo wasn't smart, but she couldn't understand how obsessed a man at his age could be. There were some things that were fine if he didn't start because he wouldn't be able to get a taste. But the person he liked was in his arms, but he couldn't touch her. After all, a certain someone wasn't old enough. In the past 3 times, he really couldn't take it anymore. Moreover, a certain someone was always teasing him. Recently, Chin Mo hadn't kissed her in order to prevent himself from losing control. This action could be said to have ignited all the flames. Bojo could feel his body temperature rising under her palms. His breath was still hot when it landed on her lips. Even though it was slightly minty, it made her feel hot. She couldn't help but feel her body heat up. He didn't hold back when he reached in. When his fingertips slid past her waist, a numbness spread from her tailbone. Bojo hugged his neck to prevent herself from slipping off the chair. Her face was flushed and even her lips were a little watery. Chin Mo watched the person in his arms, his gaze deepening. When it reached a certain depth, his long fingers unbuttoned her shirt and he leaned over to kiss her fair collarbone. Bojo trembled. She couldn't resist the pleasure. It was like a wave, sweeping over her. Because of a kiss. The two of them left half an hour later. But they didn't go all the way. Bojo's body was covered in kiss marks. The marks on her neck were the most obvious. No more, no less. Exactly 35 minutes. The Almighty wasn't careless when he bullied her. Even now, Bojo's body was still tingling with the heat. He turned and helped her put the mask back on. His voice was calm but raspy. "You can leave now. We'll continue when you're back." Bojo arched a brow. "Continue what?" "TSK, how terrifying." "What? You're not willing?" Chin Mo moved closer to her face. "Then I won't go." Bojo leaned over and kissed him, smiling mischievously. "Brother Mo, you're mistaken." It was better than coming back and continuing to tutor her in physics. Chin Mo pulled her up, warning her slowly, "Stop flirting with me or you won't be able to leave the house." This time, Bojo stopped. After all, she couldn't take another round of bullying. The Almighty's aura was too alluring. Bojo always suspected that he did it on purpose. After making her body hot, he didn't care anymore. But even so, it was also difficult for her to go out. The hickey on her neck was too obvious. It was already very strange to wear a scarf in this temperature. Bojo had no choice but to change into a white turtleneck shirt and a mask. She wore a thin trench coat so that no traces could be seen. However, Lin Feng, who was already at the cinema, felt a little regretful. Who could tell him why there were so many couples watching a movie about hackers? Undoubtedly, Lin Feng and Yun, who stood out among the crowd. This caused many people to turn back to look at them. Especially at such a time. It was a weekend and the movie would start at 8 p.m. Needless to say, there would be a lot of people. A few girls kept looking over at Lin Feng. Even though Lin Feng was wearing a mask, he still felt awkward. At this moment, Yunhu turned to ask him, "Do you want some popcorn?" It was true that he liked sweet things, but it wasn't appropriate for a grown man to carry a bucket of popcorn, right? Lin Feng was about to reject Yunhu. Yunhu's voice rang again. "Buy a bucket, I'll carry it." "Sure." Lin Feng nodded. After all, there wouldn't be any atmosphere if he didn't eat popcorn. But when Yunhu finished buying and held the popcorn in his hands, it wasn't the case. Because there wasn't just popcorn in his hands. There were also 2 jackets and a cup of lemon red tea. When she walked beside him like this, it was like this. Lin Feng could clearly hear the whispers around him. He really knows how to take care of people. That's right, I can't be too happy with such a boyfriend. My boyfriend never takes the initiative to buy popcorn for me. Lin Feng. He just bought popcorn, how did he become a boyfriend? Couldn't there be pure friendship between men these days? Also, if you want to talk, then talk. Why do you have to talk so loudly? Were they afraid that he couldn't hear them? Lin Feng felt a little uncomfortable standing there. They were just watching a movie together in the team. Why did it feel like a date? Thinking about this, Lin Feng shook his head, trying to get rid of this strange illusion. But there was still some time before the movie started. He couldn't avoid the gazes of others. He wanted to find a place to drink something, but the people sitting inside were all couples. It was really awkward. When he finally sat down quietly, he met a familiar face. When Lin Feng saw Beauty Luo, who was known as the sorcerer goddess, looking at him with a meaningful expression, Lin Feng felt troubled. As expected, that person smiled, lowered her head and started to play with her phone. In the next second, Lin Feng saw a message in the Almighty's WeChat group. "I found out about Feng and Yun's adultery. In the past, they always used their good brothers as an excuse. It's really, hey, retreat." Lin Feng held his forehead. Beauty Luo had 2 ponytails today, looking youthful. "Why do you care so much? There seems to be a problem." "Problem my foot." Lin Feng was helpless, sitting down. "Why are you guys from Xiangnan always staying in Jiang City?" Beauty Luo smiled. "We're recruiting, there are many talents in Jiang City. If Xiangnan had a branch here, would my almighty Z have been snatched away? Big sister, little Spade was subdued by our team's charm, all right?" Beauty Luo narrowed her eyes, feeling a sense of danger. "Who are you calling big sister?" "Little sister." Lin Feng immediately changed his words. "Little goddess." Beauty Luo took a sip of tea. "Little submissive Lin is such a good boy." Lin Feng, MMH? They all replied. Beauty Luo unlocked her phone. "Send a couple photo of you and Yunhu, saying that they wish you a happy marriage." Lin Feng unlocked his phone and sent 2 words in the group chat. Ha, ha. Only after sending the message did he realize something. "You came by yourself? What are you doing here?" Beauty Luo bit on her straw, seemingly indifferent. Blind date. Lin Feng. Chapter 1492. Blind date? Are you serious? Lin Feng was still in disbelief. Even Yunhu, who was standing at the side, furrowed his brows. Beauty Luo chuckled, "Is it that strange? I'm one of the older pro players. Plus, it's not like you guys don't know where I came from. The people in small counties are pretty much settled when they reach my age. No, does Poker Face Xiao know about your blind date? Lin Feng grabbed his hair, feeling as though it was a dream. Beauty Luo placed the drink in her hand down, seemingly nonchalant. The captain isn't responsible for the feelings of his team members. Moreover, I'm about to retire. My love life in the future has nothing to do with Xiangnan. The moment the word retire came out, all of Lin Feng's words seemed to have been blocked. He sat there, thinking about something. Their opponent had always been Xiangnan. Luo Luo was one of the few female professional players in the esports industry. She was able to become one of the top sorcerers in the country. Not many people could surpass her in terms of esports. Of course, Little Spade was an exception. But she was such a person. Was she going to retire? Hey, little submissive Lin, what's with your expression? Beauty Luo tilted her head, revealing her white teeth. She had a fresh aura. Isn't it normal for people in our industry to retire? But she couldn't find a reason to stay by that person's side. She knew that things would come to this stage. That was why she didn't expose him. I know, it's normal. Lin Feng stood up, suddenly wanting to smoke a cigarette. Yun Hu held him down. Captain, they are coming soon. Let's go get the tickets first. Qin Mo is coming too. Beauty Luo raised her eyebrows. My god, Z is definitely coming too. Are you guys dating? Lin Feng reached out and patted her head. Don't spout nonsense. Alright, the movie is about to start. Beauty Luo wasn't angry. Go get the tickets if you need them. Don't show off your love in front of me. Lin Feng knew to correct her. His mood was much more relaxed than before. Since the other party could accept it. There was nothing else. Luo Luo was right, retirement was a normal thing in their industry. But there was a kind of banquet that no one wanted to end. Lin Feng still felt that he had to do something. When he followed Yun Hu to collect the tickets, he swiped open his phone and sent a WeChat message. Poker Face Xiao, don't blame me for not reminding you. You better come to the commercial street. Luo Luo is preparing to go on a blind date. If she really succeeds, you won't be able to do anything in the future. After sending the message, Lin Feng stuffed his phone into his pocket. The moment he glanced up, he met Yun Hu's gaze. Let's go in first. Yun Hu's voice was calm. Captain and the others are already in the underground car park. Lin Feng replied, okay. However, his line of sight was still fixed in the same direction. Yun Hu suddenly said, this is the first time I know you are so close to the people from Xiangnan. Want to be good? Lin Feng was confused. Yun Hu glanced sideways. People who don't know might think you like her. How is that possible? Lin Feng's reaction was almost instinctive. When Yun Hu heard this, his tightly clenched fingers slowly loosened, but his expression was still nonchalant. Why not? Luo Luo is the goddess of the circle. F***ck, are you really slow or are you pretending to be slow? Can't you tell that Luo Luo likes Poker Face Xiao? Lin Feng was like an emoji. Yun Hu just held the movie tickets in his hand and asked slowly, are you really slow or are you pretending to be slow? Can't you tell that I still like you? The moment this sentence came out. In an instant. Lin Feng's emoji seemed to be enchanted. He froze there abruptly. The surrounding sound seemed to have been covered. Regardless of whether it was the sound of the movie preview or the noise of the people coming and going, it seemed to have faded at this moment. The only thing left was the sound that kept replaying in his ears and his increasingly rapid heartbeat. Bang. 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 Lin Feng opened his mouth and was about to speak. Yun Hu interrupted him. His gaze was incomparably dark. I'm not joking. Choose again. Do you want to be a lover or break off our friendship? There is no third choice. I don't want to be brothers anymore. Choose. Lin Feng was extremely annoyed by the sound of his heartbeat. After hearing the other party's words, he was in a state of eruption. Choose what choice? F***ck. Yunhu, have you forgotten that you have a boyfriend? What are you doing now? Are you having second thoughts? I always knew that your circle is messy. You don't take sleeping with others seriously. You even do it in the bathroom if you like someone. But you can't do this. You. Before he could finish his words, a jacket fell from the top of his head. It had a faint smell of tobacco and popcorn. It directly dragged him to a certain place. Lin Feng couldn't see. The only thing he could feel was that his entire body was pressed against the wall by the other party. The back of his head touched the wall. He wanted to move. A familiar breath suddenly pasted on his lips. Both of them had just drunk tea. There was still a faint taste of Longjing tea between their lips. But it was this faint taste that made Lin Feng's scalp go numb. Because he clearly knew that Yunhu was kissing him. In such a place. In the crowded cinema. Even though his head was covered with a jacket. But they were so close to each other. There was a possibility of being discovered. Even if they couldn't be discovered. But Lin Feng's heart felt as though it was about to explode. It beat faster and faster. The faster it beat, the hotter it became. Yunhu seemed to have planned it from the start. He wouldn't let him off just like that. It was different from the previous times. The lack of oxygen made Lin Feng's waist weak even after he pushed him away. Not to mention the silver strands that flowed down the corner of his mouth. F***ck. Lin Feng wanted to reach out to wipe away the burning sensation. In the end, he could only tug on his jacket. His breathing was still unstable. He lowered his voice and said, "Are you crazy?" In such a place, Yunhu looked at the person whose hair was messed up by him. He took another step closer. "You mean it's fine if we don't do it in such a place?" Both of them were about the same height. If they were to compare, Yunhu was still taller by 3 centimeters. Both of them were tall and slender, yet the atmosphere was so unusual. There would definitely be people stopping to watch. "You." Lin Feng's voice became softer. This was the first time he felt that Yunhu was so dangerous. In the past, Yunhu had never been like this. Chapter 1493. He realized that there were more and more people. Lin Feng wore his mask and turned to leave. But Yunhu blocked his way. "I don't have a boyfriend." Yunhu's gaze deepened. "Before you agree, I won't have any lovers, regardless of gender." "I thought you already knew this." Lin Feng couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed his collar and pushed him against the wall. "You don't have a boyfriend? That boy from before, was he a fake?" "Yunhu, let me tell you, regardless of whether you like girls or guys, you can't be a jerk." His sudden outburst stunned all the girls around him. Is Little Shou jealous now? It's obvious, but Little Shou looks handsome when he's jealous. You haven't even seen his face and you say he's handsome. His figure and aura are so good, it's impossible for his face not to look good. He looks so familiar with his mask. Alright, stop talking. It's time to think about your 2D Prince Charming again. But he does look familiar. Lin Feng tugged Yunhu. "Let's find a quieter place to talk." "Okay." Such a cooperative attitude made Lin Feng pause for a moment. He really wanted to beat him up. What exactly was wrong with Yunhu? Was this how he treated relationships? It wasn't easy to find a quieter place in a huge shopping mall. Lin Feng dragged him forward. In the end, Yunhu glanced to the side and reminded him. "There's an emergency exit on your left." Lin Feng finally regained some rationality. He pushed the door open and dragged Yunhu into the tunnel. There were 2 people smoking there. When they saw them, they thought they were going to fight. They hurriedly extinguished their cigarettes and walked out. Lin Feng inhaled deeply and was about to say something when Yunhu interrupted him. His lips lifting slightly. "I'm very happy." "Happy?" Lin Feng's anger grew. What are you smiling about? Is this something to be happy about? Yunhu's gaze deepened. You are jealous because of me, how is that not something to be happy about? Lin Feng paused, his voice sinking. I'm not. If you didn't, you wouldn't be acting like this. Yunhu allowed him to tug on his collar. Let's talk about the boy you mentioned. He isn't my boyfriend. I hired him to act. Acting? Lin Feng felt like they weren't on the same channel at all. Yunhu took a step forward. Because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to control myself and would be pushed away by you, I didn't even want to be your friend. Instead, I found someone so that you wouldn't disgust me so much. Lin Feng's grip loosened by more than half. The pause on his face was very obvious. He never expected things to turn out this way. Back then, I thought about how you would react when you saw me. Even if there was something wrong, I wanted to try again. But you kept wishing me happiness and even heaved a huge sigh of relief. It was as though you wouldn't be harassed by me anymore. You probably don't understand how it feels. The person you like doesn't like you and is trying his best to get you together with someone else. That's why I said I'm happy that you're finally jealous. Admit it, you like me too. Lin Feng froze. He didn't know if it was because of his actions or his words, but he didn't even know where to place his fingers. Yunhu was a little unrestrained. His fingers slid up his waist. From his perspective, as long as this person didn't reject him, everything wouldn't be a problem. Lin Feng felt as though his life had been exposed. His waist turned soft and the back of his ears turned red. Yunhu lowered his lids and pressed against the side of his face. And that day, after you left, I let him go because other than you, I don't want to sleep with anyone else. It was the same in the past and it will be the same in the future. Sleep your head. Who's talking about this? Lin Feng tilted his head and muttered. F***ck, F***ck, don't touch me randomly. The smile on Yunhu's face deepened. I won't touch you randomly. Then take your hand back, jerk. Lin Feng grabbed a handful of hair and pushed him away. Don't play such boring games in the future. Find someone to pretend to be your boyfriend. Do you think you are filming a movie? Yunhu replied. He lowered his lids and moved closer. So, do you want to be with me in the future? Lin Feng paused and looked at his face. He didn't reply immediately. He was the only one in the Lin family and the Yun family. When Yunhu saw that Lin Feng didn't reply, the smile on his lips gradually faded. As time went on, it started to turn colder. You are still like this even after everything has been said. Lin Feng, when will you realize a problem? No matter how deep your love is, it will end sooner or later. With that, Yunhu turned and wanted to leave. From his face, he could see many things. Even if he liked him, he couldn't accept it. This was probably what made people feel the most helpless. Lin Feng stood there and looked at his back view. Almost instinctively, he reached out and grabbed his wrist. Yunhu stopped in his tracks but wanted to shake his hand off. It wasn't because of anything else but because the phone in his pocket rang. It should be the location sharing effect. Lin Feng misunderstood his intentions and thought that this fellow was going to make a decision on his own. He was a little anxious. You have to give me some time to think before making a decision. F***ck, I have been a straight man for more than 20 years and I am going to turn gay because of you. Can't you hesitate and do some psychological hints? Do you know how long I have had a crush on you? Before Lin Feng could finish his sentence, he froze. It wasn't because of anything else but when he shouted that he was going to turn gay because of you, someone pushed the door open and came in for a smoke. After exchanging glances with Lin Feng, the person slammed the door with a bang. His expression seemed to be saying that city people really knew how to have fun. Lin Feng wanted to grab his hair again. But it wasn't over yet. Soon, a round of applause came from above him. Lin Feng turned her head and saw the young man leaning against the wall with a mischievous smile on his thin lips. Her left hand gently patted her right hand. Team Flower Lin, your coming out declaration is really out of the ordinary. Turning gay because of you? You scared all the people who wanted to smoke. It's really new. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Lin Feng opened his mouth. F***ck, when did Little Spade come? And the captain standing behind her. Why didn't he say anything? Wait a minute, the captain seemed to have turned on the team voice chat. That meant F***ck, F***ck, F***ck. His illustrious reputation. Lin Feng wanted to find a hole to hide in. Chapter 1494. Rao Rong replied, the voice is clear, I'm gay for you. Coco replied, shouldn't the successful confession be treated to a meal? Yin Weiyao replied, youngsters these days can't be compared. Lin Shintao replied, I'm gay for you, I'll repeat this sentence today. Feng Shang replied, repeat, +1. His phone vibrated in his jacket pocket. Lin Feng didn't need to look to know what was going on in the chat group. F***ck. As his longtime ally, Bo Jiu wasn't going to let go of such an interesting Lin Feng. You can't even turn gay, do you need Almighty Yun to clean you up and send you to your room? Lin Feng didn't want to speak, he turned his head and started to calm down. Bo Jiu leaped down the stairs, her clothes fluttering. She reached out and patted his shoulder, her voice deep. Think about it, the difference between taking the initiative and being passive, this is the most important factor in determining your position in bed. Don't say that your ally doesn't want to help you, if you were the one who asked, you would be able to. Before Lin Feng could wrap his head around it, he had been instilled with such thoughts. The worst part was, he had actually listened. No, Little Spade, is it appropriate for a girl like you to discuss such a topic with me? Lin Feng's voice was similarly deep. Bo Jiu laughed lightly. We're both adults, do you want to be the one being attacked? Lin Feng inhaled deeply. Yes. Isn't that enough? Bo Jiu retracted her hand. Alright, plan carefully, send me a message if you don't understand. Now, let's go watch a movie. Lin Feng lowered his head and took a look. In the team's discussion group, he was listed as Little Submissive Lin. He seemed to have made up his mind, glancing over at Yunhu. Yunhu didn't hear their conversation. Lin Feng's, I'm already gay for you, you have to give me some mental preparation, was enough to make him so happy he didn't need to hear anything else. If there wasn't someone beside them, he would probably have pushed him against the wall and bullied him. Qin Mo, who could guess what she was talking about, glanced over when she came back, brushing her hair. Does being mischievous make you happy? How can this be called mischievous? I'm helping to warm up their relationship. Otherwise, when would I be able to see Little Submissive Lin suffering from back pain? Bo Jiu spoke righteously, but the smile in her eyes betrayed her evil intentions. Little Submissive Lin still didn't understand who had the stronger aura. This was something that had long been decided. Yun who didn't look like the one at the bottom, and he wouldn't be the one at the bottom. Little Submissive Lin was still too naive. However, it was quite interesting to see Little Submissive Lin trying his best to make a comeback. The four of them returned to the crowd through the fire escape. The people behind them probably didn't see them. They bumped into Lin Feng but didn't apologize and just walked forward. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. Just as he was about to call him back, he saw that person pull out a chair and sit opposite Beauty Luo. From this angle, the people in the coffee shop couldn't see outside. But the four people outside could see inside. Bo Jiu raised a brow. What's going on? Didn't you see the Almighty's discussion group? Lin Feng glanced sideways. Luo Luo is on a blind date. Blind date? Bo Jiu paused. She realized that he definitely didn't want anyone to see such an occasion. Any girl wouldn't want to face such a situation. Especially a girl like Beauty Luo. She lifted her feet and was about to leave. But the conversation on the other side was still heard. The man looked very greasy. He probably came from a rich family. From the moment he sat down, the first thing he said was, "The matchmaker didn't exaggerate things. Miss Luo is not bad looking and tall. She is a good match for me." Luo didn't say anything. She just smiled. After all, she couldn't tell how 168 meters and 169 meters were compatible. Was there only a difference of 1 centimeter? Luo was still very polite. This was her expression when she was talking to strangers. The man drank a mouthful of water. His eyes didn't move away from Luo. He sized her up. "But I'm different from other men. I don't look at looks. The most important thing is temperament and upbringing. I heard that Miss Luo's education isn't very high. Is that right?" Luo was thinking about when she was going to leave. The man frowned. "That's why you play games. The matchmaker did mention this. Your main job is to play games." Luo's fingers paused. She looked up. "It's esports." "Yes, esports." The man said this, but he acted as though there wasn't any difference between the two. "My family business is big. You should have heard about it before you came. My mother is a teacher. She is quite open-minded, but it's better for boys to play games. After all, we eat our youth. I heard that other than you, there aren't any other girls in your team?" Luo only gave him one word. "Yes." "That's not very good." The man looked at Luo with a different gaze. He seemed to be scrutinizing and reminding her. It's important to maintain a distance from the opposite sex. Luo raised her eyebrows. There was a different kind of beauty when she spoke slowly. "Mr. Zhang, what do you mean?" "Miss Luo, don't misunderstand. I'm just asking casually." The man smiled. Luo turned her hand and sent the matchmaker a message saying, "We are not suitable." She was about to stand up. "I have 3 houses in this city, one of which can be used as a wedding house. You can decorate it according to the style you like. After all, the cost of decorating a wedding house is usually borne by the bride. You have played games for so many years, so you should have some savings. Overall, I am very satisfied with Miss Luo. As for the rest, I will discuss it with my mother. You should know that in the eyes of an educator, academic qualifications are very important. After dinner, let's walk around and get to know each other better." Luo didn't expect that at this moment. The man spoke again. "I heard that you can earn a lot of money by playing games. The matchmaker has also communicated with me. I don't approve of girls showing their faces outside, but I also respect women who work. It's just that your occupation is not very orthodox. Luckily, the matchmaker said that you are about to resign, and that's fine too. I've seen many professional gamers who don't compete and just do live broadcasts at home to earn a lot of money, as long as you pay attention to your attire during the broadcast. I'm a very open-minded person, and it's easy to mediate family matters. You should also understand my job. That aunt of yours from the county town came to me for treatment." Chapter 1495. Luo interrupted him. She stood up with her slender legs. "I don't think we need to get to know each other better. We aren't compatible." The man probably hadn't expected to be rejected. His eyes widened. Then he took a deep breath and said loudly, "Isn't it just a lousy gamer? Why are you so arrogant?" Luo glanced back. Her gaze was cold. "I'll tell you one more time. I play sports. Miss Luo, you don't seem to know. I've heard about you. You're a girl with no background. You were able to become a professional gamer because you did things that others weren't willing to do. You're good now, but who knows where your money came from? You imitated other people's moves, hugged the thighs of professional gamers, and used your beauty to enter the eyes of the higher-ups. Don't keep saying that you play sports. No matter how nice you sound, you're just a peripheral gamer who plays games that are slightly more advanced." "That's right," Luo said. Because Luo was beautiful, many people had been looking at her when she had first entered the shop. Moreover, the two of them looked like they were on a blind date. Everyone was curious. Hence, the moment the man spoke, almost all the gazes in the cafe focused on Luoluo. There were some who liked to play games too. Previously, because of the direction Luoluo was sitting in, they could only see her back view. Now, they could even see her face. Their eyes were filled with curiosity. She must be Goddess Luo. So, the things online are true. What did I say? Which girl doesn't fake her moves when she plays games? This isn't anything new. She imitated others and then started to accompany the higher-ups. She just did a good job in public relations. No one found out. When the sound of whispering could be heard, Luoluo's entire face turned pale. There were some things that didn't seem to matter no matter what you said. People would only believe what they were willing to believe. Until now, Luoluo still couldn't forget the first time she had entered a professional team. A reputable person in the circle, who was known to be the most willing to help newcomers, had sat at the table and told her that if she was willing, she could get as much money and connections as she wanted. With Luoluo's temper, she would definitely not agree. After apologizing, she stood up. But in the end, he was still a member of the team. Because the line was pulled by the club, it was impossible to act like in the TV dramas, where a cup of water was splashed over. In reality, Luoluo had been a little scared at that time. At that time, she had never imagined that such things existed in her favorite industry. Even her left hand was trembling when she walked out. She had originally thought that her agent would stand up for her after hearing about what had happened. Unexpectedly, her manager only said, "Pretend that nothing happened. Luoluo, this is for your own good." Luoluo was indignant, especially when she heard that person say that she was completely impolite and her skills were average. Impulsively, he replied on the internet. The man changed the topic and talked about what happened last night. He said, "Girls need to be reserved. It's easy for people to misunderstand you when you're so proactive. You used to be cold and hardworking before, but when you're at the table, you're completely different. You don't need to wear revealing clothes, but some of your actions are so passionate that it makes people uncomfortable." A lot of people started to follow suit, basically asking for details. There was no lack of people in the industry who would give you an answer. Another girl in the team jumped out and pretended not to know anything. "No wonder Sister Luoluo wasn't with us last night. She had another dinner appointment. That's weird. After all, Sister Luoluo doesn't look like that kind of person." As expected of the old saying, you can't judge a book by its cover. Luoluo couldn't remember how many people had guessed her at the start. It was just that in every match, he would always receive strange looks from the audience. That kind of gaze, when it landed on her body, she would always want to open her mouth and say something. But at the same time, she realized that no matter what she said, no one would listen to her. Because they would ask her why she didn't say anything back then. They would even say that if she wasn't willing, she shouldn't go. Or perhaps it was all for money. If not, they would have caused a ruckus a long time ago. From the time the incident happened to the time she left the team, she had experienced the darkest days of the 3 months. It wasn't that she hadn't thought of giving up. When she was alone, she just wanted to cry. But she couldn't cry because there were many people looking at her, waiting for her to fall. Even if they couldn't replace her position, they could use her as a topic to talk about her. It would make them feel that they were facing a common enemy. During the live stream, the bullet screen was filled with scolding. Even so, she had to go online on time to play the game. If not, she would feel guilty and didn't dare to face the public. This matter followed her into Xiangnan. Then, after the results of the competition were released, her attitude gradually improved. Luoluo really thought that she could prove herself this way. But now, from the looks of it, that wasn't the case. People would only see what he wanted to see. For a moment, Luoluo would think about what exactly she was persevering for. It was too difficult to admit that she was a lousy gamer. It was too difficult to just treat playing games as a money-making job. But so what? No one would believe that she truly loved it. The man looked at Lualua's expression and became even more delighted. That's why I said that one shouldn't be too arrogant. Those things about you are no longer spread. Do you really think that you are a goddess that people are fighting over? But this time, before he could finish his sentence, a lazy voice interrupted him. However, she was interrupted by a lazy voice. She has always been a goddess. It was Bojo. She stuffed one hand into her pocket and walked over. Her handsome face didn't seem feminine at all. On the contrary, because of her messy silver hair and black windbreaker, she gave off an impactful aura. Chapter 1496. The man's face was filled with emotions. After all, he was used to being flattered. He had never encountered such a situation before. He could even hear the discussions around him. They seemed to be pointing at him. The man flew into a rage. Miss Luo, you are really interesting. Since you already have a man, why did you come out for a blind date? Bojo's eyes narrowed. She tugged the man's collar and smiled devilishly. Mr. Zhang's eyesight isn't good. Which eye of yours saw that I'm a man? But it is true. As a man, you aren't even as tall as a lady. It isn't strange for you to have such thoughts. Men hated it the most when people made an issue of their height. Right now, he wanted to tear them apart. Hearing the laughter around him, his voice deepened. These days are really sick. There are so many people who are neither male nor female. Come to think of it, for someone like Miss Luo, only someone like you is fit to be with someone like you. When Luo heard this, the look in her eyes changed. She took a step forward. But her wrist was suddenly pulled back. Her back was pressed into an embrace that smelled like research water. That smell was very familiar. Every time she encountered a weakness during training, he would hold her mouse and demonstrate a more accurate way to play. He would hold her mouse behind her back and demonstrate a more accurate way to play. Even though they were often together, they had never been so close to each other. Luo couldn't help but look at his slender fingers. Even though they were often together, they had never been so close to each other. When she lowered her head, her long hair landed on his wrist. Luo froze. Why was he here? How much did he hear? Luo didn't want him to see her weakness. Regardless of which aspect it was. Is this what you meant by something? Xiao Jing was wearing a white coat. He must have come out of the research institute just now. When he turned his head, his side profile was handsome and cold. Luo felt the distance between his thin lips and hers. She paused for a moment. I thought it would be settled quickly. Xiao Jing looked at her with a deep gaze. He didn't say anything. He didn't let go of her wrist either. Instead, his gaze landed on the man in front of him. The man was arrogant at the start, but when he saw Xiao Jing's face clearly, he froze. It was not because of anything else, but because they were all in the medical profession. However, this was the difference. They all wanted to listen to each other's lessons. He became a professor at a young age. It was basically impossible for it to exist in the country. But there was such a person. He did medical research, but what was more impressive was that his ability to perform organ surgery had already reached the international level. The man didn't expect that a gamer would know such a person. It could be seen that he didn't pay attention to esports at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been oblivious until now. The person he wanted to curry favor with in real life was the captain of the Xiangnan team. Dr. Xiao. The man laughed dryly, trying to salvage something. It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Chapter 1497. If the man's expression had been colorful just a moment ago, his expression was stiff and he couldn't help but smile. Anyone with eyes could see how big the gap between the two of them was. Even a passerby who didn't understand esports could see the difference in them. With such a handsome boyfriend, she didn't need to go on a blind date. Moreover, Xiao Jing was wearing a pair of gold-rimmed spectacles and a white coat. He looked like a doctor who had walked out of a manga. His aura was extraordinary. Luo Luo, who was in his hands, looked like a typical handsome man and beautiful woman. They were a perfect match. Whether it was in terms of height or appearance, it gave people a pleasant feeling. It seemed as though only such a man could suppress Luolua's beauty. Hence, it wasn't a sin for a girl to be beautiful. It depended on the person who matched it. After Xiao Jing finished speaking, he wasn't the only one standing there. Even Lin Feng, Yunhu, and Qin Mo walked over. Along with the silver-haired Bojiu, the few of them lined up in a row. There were people of all types. The scene was even more eye-catching than a gathering of celebrities. Just Qin Mo's face alone was enough to cause a wave of screams. It was a pity he was wearing a mask today. Even so, he attracted everyone's attention. Oh my god, that's almighty Qin. F***ck, I've lived long enough to see him. There's also Feng Yun and Little Spade. He's so handsome. I'm so happy to see so many male almighties in one go. Honestly, judging from his posture, he is definitely here to support Goddess Luo. I've been wanting to say this. What right does that blind date guy have to pick on our goddess? No one knows what happened in the past, but from the content of his words, it's obvious that he's a straight mama's boy. As a man, he has the cheek to ask a woman to earn money for him. He even said it in such a dignified manner and despised the woman's education. Goddess Luo's self-restraint is considered good. If it was me, I would have splashed coffee on his face. I really don't understand the thoughts of the people who believe in him. His face must be hurting from the slap when he sees me, almighty Xiao. The blind date guy listened to the comments around him and looked at the group of people opposite him. He felt his face burning. Because everyone standing there was a head taller than him. The blind man wanted to leave. She's the best sorcerer in Xiangnan, second to none. When she's competing overseas, even if there's constant pressure on her, she doesn't give up. It's all because she wants to see China's national flag fly in other places. When the referee neglects to play a Chinese song, she'll remind him that she's not just a game. She's the only female sorcerer in our country who's ranked in the world. Even if she doesn't work in this industry in the future, she's still worthy of respect. Forgive me for being blunt, but you have no right to criticize her. As these words rang in Luolua's ears, the unwillingness and grievances she felt just now seemed to disappear instantly. Your hard work and love. Chapter 1498. Now that things had escalated to such a stage, the blind date guy didn't have the face to stay there anymore. His back view looked as though he was escaping. Lin Feng tilted his head and said to Yunhu, "Have you ever heard Xiao Jing say so many words in the past?" No. Yunhu noticed that he was leaning over. He held on to the popcorn and moved closer to Lin Feng. Lin Feng himself didn't notice anything wrong. He muttered to himself, "We've fought so many matches, but I haven't heard him say many words. Today, this guy probably said a year's worth of words in one go. He must be anxious." Bojiu lifted her lips and joined in the gossip. How did he know that Luo was here? Lin Feng straightened his back and revealed his canine teeth. Of course, I had the foresight to inform him. Well done. Bojiu sounded lazy. I didn't expect Senior Lin to be so smart. Lin Feng. This didn't sound like a compliment. Today's day was also very different from the rest. From the two at the start, there were 4 of them, and now, there were 6 of them. They stood there majestically. All of their looks were on point. It was indeed eye-catching. Hey, will we be recognized? Lin Feng asked again. Bojiu glanced over. Senior, you're really slow. F***ck, what should we do? Lin Feng didn't want to be chased. Besides, he wasn't in a good state today. Bojiu straightened. There won't be anyone staring at you if you check in. At the start, Lin Feng felt that it was a good idea. He felt the same when he sat down. But after 30 seconds had passed, Fang Jingji's expression changed. Only then did he realize that something was wrong. The people sitting in this row were all couples. Only he and Yun who were males. Lin Feng could feel the two girls in front of him turning back to look at them. He was too naive. How could he believe little Spade's words? No one was staring at him. To make himself look less awkward, Lin Feng reached over to grab a handful of popcorn and stuffed it into his mouth. Unexpectedly, he grabbed Yunhu's hand. As if he had been electrocuted, Lin Feng's back suddenly stiffened. He explained, I just want to eat some popcorn. I know. Yunhu said, but he didn't let go of his hand. Instead, he interlocked their fingers and hung by the side of the seat. The cinema was already very dark, so no one would have seen this scene. However, Lin Feng felt that the temperature between his fingers was extremely high. It was so high that he couldn't help but tilt his head. His heart was beating so fast that it felt like it was about to jump out. He did not know if it was because he was worried about being seen by others, or simply because he was holding his hand. In fact, none of the 6 people who came were watching the movie carefully. Qin Mo placed his hand behind her back, caressing her hair casually. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. He turned and said in a low voice, "The next time we watch a movie, we'll do it together." MMH? Bo Jiu raised her eyebrows in confusion. Chapter 1499. Bo Jiu paused. She glanced over and coughed lightly. The Almighty was probably the only one who could say something like that with an indifferent face. Even though they weren't holding hands, Qin Mo unwrapped a candy and tapped it on Bo Jiu's lips. Luo Luo found it hard to imagine that the arrogant person who looked down on everyone would do such a thing one day. There was not the slightest hint of incongruity. Even when the two of them were together, they looked like a good match. Bo Jiu was still wearing a black jacket. She exuded a punk vibe, looking extremely dashing. She looked at him for a while, and when her right hand dropped down, it brushed against Xiao Jing's shoulder. Xiao Jing tilted his head, still not saying much. Popcorn? Luo Luo shook her hand. After interacting with him for so many years, this was the first time she felt awkward. It was probably because of the blind date. She couldn't really look at that face. In fact, he was always by this person's side. It's really hard to fall for other men. In the past, he always wore a battle uniform, but now he was wearing a white coat. Luo Luo had always known the difference between the two of them. Ever since she found out about the other party's background, she no longer had any other thoughts. However, compared to his proud background, Lin Fan was not as arrogant as him. What she felt the most inferior about was her educational background. In the esports industry, there were very few people who could still play well after the age of 20. She had entered the circle too early. At that time, she probably loved it too much. In order to enter a professional team, she didn't even think about learning or not. When she really came into contact with it, she realized that whether it was the live streaming platform or the club, there would be a huge influx of people every time they recruited. She did play well, but in order to stand out in the crowd, a long period of high-intensity training was essential. Not only her, but most of the people were the same. The outside world probably didn't understand where their pressure came from. In a small city, the internet industry was not developed at all. No matter how things developed, in their eyes, you were just a lousy game. Compared to people of the same age who were already immersed in their studies, entering a professional team to play sports was simply a fool's dream. Back then, it wasn't like now, where they could only get a small basic salary. Because he hadn't officially joined the competition yet. Many people told themselves that they had to persevere. As long as they made it through, nothing was impossible. Luo Luo wouldn't underestimate the decisions made by some girls at that time. People who have not experienced it. He probably didn't understand. How much pressure did he have to bear? I only think of one thing, I want to get through this. When they were on the field, the fans would only see their brightest side. More than 10 hours of training every day. Every match would have a record of the data. You have to keep your form. Usually, there would be a total of 50 people trained, and in the end, only 1 or 2 would be left as substitutes. The others will give you the money for the train and let you go home. This was the truest life they had ever led. She and the person who could do scientific research while playing games, and even had a certain level of attainment in the medical field, were like 2 different worlds. She likes money too much. Without money, there was no sense of security. As for him, he had never been short of money. He was as clear and bright as the moon. It wasn't that he hadn't thought of confessing. He remembered when Xiangnan won the championship in the first national competition. Chapter 1500. When he finally arrived at the unfamiliar environment, he felt a chill run down his spine. Luo felt that they weren't from the same world. It wasn't a big deal when they were in the team because they talked about games the most. There were times when she couldn't get a word in. But it was different in university. She saw a girl sitting beside him and they were talking about things she couldn't understand. And that was the first time she realized that he could smile outside of a competition. Luo sat there and looked at the two of them. They had the same aura and one look and she could tell that they were from the same family. The girl exuded a gentle aura from head to toe. She was dressed elegantly and had a strong scholarly aura. She was completely different from her. Luo never felt inferior, but at that moment, she experienced the difference between them. The girl smiled lightly and looked at her. "Are you Senior's teammate? He's always strict with himself, but he's never picky with others. We were talking about medicine just now and neglected you. You're not upset, are you?" "No." Luo stood there with her long and slender legs. She watched as the person walked out with his book. He glanced at her and asked, "Aren't you leaving?" Luo followed behind him. Just like how she always followed behind him during competitions. She said impulsively, "Captain, what do you think about dating people in the industry?" "I'm not interested." The person didn't even turn his head. He didn't speak much. These 4 words made Luo understand one thing. Fortunately, she didn't confess excitedly. If that was the case, the situation would have been awkward. "What's wrong?" Xiao Jing glanced back and frowned. Luo shook her head and followed behind him. However, during the afternoon training, she wasn't in her best condition. She didn't even play well during the live stream. From that day onwards, she understood that as the only female member of the Xiangnan team, he took care of her because of his upbringing. He had never done anything intimate with her. At most, he would occasionally straighten her collar when she went on stage. He was her captain. But he was her captain. Even if she had thousands of thoughts in her heart. She couldn't break this balance. She was about to retire, so she couldn't do anything stupid. This way, they would have the chance to meet in the future and it wouldn't be awkward. Luo lowered her gaze and took a sip of the drink in her hand. On their left sat Feng and Yun while on their right sat Bojiu and Qinamo. Being stuck in the middle like this was really easy for people to misunderstand. Luo could only try her best to lean towards Bojiu. But for some reason, it attracted the attention of that person. He just looked at her and said nothing. This made Luo feel even more uncomfortable. In the captain's world, there was no such thing as a blind date. That was why he was sizing her up like this. "Don't tell Zhao Sanpang about what happened today. If he finds out, the entire team will know." Xiao Jing looked at the chagrin on her beautiful face and said indifferently, "This is the first time you've lied." "Huh?" Luo couldn't keep up with her captain's thoughts. Xiao Jing didn't bother to say much and just tapped his wrist. Luo finally remembered that she had indeed found an excuse to not tell the truth because she had come for a blind date. "Let's go." Xiao Jing stood up first. Luo thought that he probably didn't want to sit in such an ambiguous position. Lin Feng lowered his voice. Mute Xiao, where are you going? The movie isn't over yet. Go back and train. Xiao Jing's words were simple. Lin Feng tilted his head and said to Luo Luo, is your captain so insensitive? It's probably his first time watching a movie with a girl. He doesn't even know how to place his hands. Luo Luo raised her eyebrows. How do you know? At this moment, Lin Feng wasn't shy anymore. He lifted Yun Hu's hand. Let me demonstrate. Luo Luo paused. Stop fooling around, little submissive Lin. Lin Feng wanted to say something but Bo Jiu opened her mouth at this moment. She supported her chin with her left hand. The black earrings on her ears were still glowing. All right, Senior Lin, Luo Luo and Almighty Xiao should have other things to do. When she mentioned other things, Bo Jiu's gaze was profound. Lin Feng waited for the two of them to leave before leaning over and asking, why did you let them go? The cinema is a place to cultivate feelings. It can also enlighten Mute Xiao's stone-like brain and let him get a taste of love. As for cultivating feelings, you and Almighty Yun can do it together. Bo Jiu smiled devilishly. Sometimes, a stone needs more stimulation. Lin Feng sighed. Honestly, I didn't think that Luo Luo liked Xiao Jing in the past. Aren't you the one she loves the most? You are her only almighty. Don't push the blame on me for your slowness. Bo Jiu gestured for him to return to Yun Hu's side. Lin Feng was like an auntie in the industry, worrying endlessly. I've known them for so many years. Mute Xiao probably only treats Luo Luo as his team member. He has never thought of her in that direction. Luo Luo will probably beg for it, but no matter what, we can't let her go on blind dates again. Is there no one else in our industry? Wasn't there a fan who sent 10 cruises to Luo Luo's live stream to express his love for her? Someone in the team I know has also said that Luo Luo is his only goddess in the industry. Is that so? Bo Jiu caressed her chin with her fingers. Suddenly, she smiled suavely. Who is that person? Introduce them in the Almighty's WeChat discussion group and arrange a meeting. Lin Feng slapped his forehead. Why didn't I think of this? It's good to let Luo Luo meet him to calm her down. My friend is good at making people happy and he is handsome. He has liked Luo Luo for a long time. That's not bad. Bo Jiu seemed to have thought of something. She smiled. The better the person, the more exciting it will be. The noble Qin Mo didn't say a word. He just glanced sideways at a certain someone. Lin Feng frowned. Why do I feel that your smile doesn't have any good intentions? Am I? Bo Jiu was nonchalant. I'm contributing to Luo Luo's marriage. After all, she is one of the few esports players I like. Aren't you the same? Lin Feng looked serious. I like her the most among the female players. Is that so? Yun Hu glanced at Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't realize what danger was. He nodded and said, yes. Yun Hu's eyes dimmed. This was probably his insecurity. He was a straight man through and through. His love for girls would always be stronger than for boys. Even if it wasn't that kind of love. It made him jealous. Yun Hu pinched a piece of popcorn with his fingers. He played with it. He was thinking about how he could make her his. Chapter 1501. The movie was still going on. After chatting for a while, Lin Feng was finally able to watch the content. Just as he decided to enjoy it and relax, Yun Hu's voice rang in his ears again. Do you like him that much? This time, when he spoke, he was slightly closer to him. It seemed like he was taking the drink beside him, but in reality, he was asking him. Lin Feng wanted to nod instinctively. But he heard him say, you better think about it before you answer, boyfriend. Man, boyfriend or something. Just these 3 words made Lin Feng's heart skip a beat. He tilted his head, his gaze landing on that person's handsome face. He wasn't so naive that he couldn't read his expression. After coughing lightly, he corrected himself. It's not like, it's pure admiration for the opponent, just like how I admire Zhao Sanpang. Look at how fat he is, I admire him. After hearing this explanation, Yunhu felt slightly better. After putting down the drink, he didn't retract his hand. Instead, he held on to Lin Feng's hand like before. Hence, the straight Lin Xiaofeng tugged at his collar unnaturally from the start to the end. He still wasn't used to it. Other than the awkwardness, his heart kept beating wildly like an ADHD child. Yunhu could tell that. He knew that there were some things he needed to slowly get used to. He was well aware of how straightforward Lin Feng was. In the past, there had been people who had thoughts about him. They would always be kicked away by him with brute force. F***ck, look carefully, I'm a man. Isn't it disgusting? It was normal for a straight man to hate a gay man. It wasn't like what people said about straight man cancer. After all, no one was willing to be targeted by someone they couldn't accept. Hence, it was enough for Yunhu to reach this step. As for the rest, he would take it step by step. He wasn't someone to be trifled with. He had to have a platonic relationship. He wanted to have him. He had wanted it since puberty. Until now. Lin Feng didn't notice Yunhu's gaze. In order to divert his attention, he focused on the Almighty's WeChat discussion group. He was emphasizing that he was the one with the aura. World's most handsome fatty, your aura isn't even worth mentioning in front of Yunhu. Lin Feng, how about this, if you really feel pain, come to me and cry in my arms. I've already gotten over love. This world looks at one's face, not one's gender. I'm already so handsome, there's really no challenge. Unless someone takes a liking to my talent, that would be the true love of my life. Bojiu saw the opportunity and said, it will be difficult for you to find your true love. World's most handsome fatty. Little Spade, stay away from Qin Mo in the future. What have you learned? It was just a normal conversation. Suddenly, someone said, by the way, someone said that Luo went on a blind date? Luo went to have a date with him. Bojiu's voice was calm. What does it matter if it's real or fake? Luo has been single for so many years. Isn't it normal for them to meet each other for a meal? The man continued, so it's true. It seems like Luo's dark history was dug out. Bojiu narrowed her eyes, the edges of her lips turning cold. 2 messages popped up in the group chat. The person had been kicked out of the group. Other than Qin Mo, who was sitting beside her, there was another person. Chapter 1502. Xiao Jing. When Bojiu saw this name, she raised her eyebrows and a playful look appeared in her eyes. Then, she nudged Lin Feng. Senior. Lin Feng glanced over. What? Hurry up and ask your friend to meet Luo. I feel that something interesting is going to happen. Lin Feng didn't understand why Little Spade was suddenly so interested in introducing people. But there was something he had to say in the group chat. Good kick. Spade Z, good kick +1. This discussion group was established a long time ago. Most of the people in it were there when the concept of professional teams came out. Then, this discussion group was passed to Qin Mo and Xiao Jing. The common idea was that they could gossip, but they didn't want those with messy thoughts. No matter what their profession was. Once they started to talk about other people's privacy, they might even talk about their appearance, education, and experience. Those who really played games weren't such people. The existence of the discussion group was for them to relax. Secondly, it was for them to exchange their thoughts and tease each other. Even if they weren't in the same team. Because they had the same profession. Hence, they respected each other. They also understood that it wasn't easy along the way. This was the original intention of establishing the discussion group. But it was obvious that some people had started to misinterpret it. They even posted the news of him being kicked on the forum. This way, Luo would have a dark history. Some people said that he was too dictatorial. He didn't even allow people to talk about what he did. Almighty Xiao was so protective of a certain someone. Some people said that Luo would forever be their goddess. However, no matter what they said, Luo would always be their goddess. However, this scene would eventually become lonely. Because on that day, after Luo returned home, she didn't know why. She was supposed to live stream the next day. But after the movie ended, she played a round of games. She played a solo game with every sorcerer. This time, when she played, people noticed the order of the heroes she used. The first sorcerer was the character she used on the first day she joined Xiangnan. The second sorcerer was the character she used when Xiangnan entered the National League. The third sorcerer was the character she used with Xiao Sanpang and Captain Xiao to kill Qin Mo. The fourth mage was the character she had used when they won the first national championship. Someone once said that in that year, people had truly witnessed Goddess Luo's mage. She had strong control and damage output, and she had unleashed the strongest stream of consciousness. From then on, no one said that girls couldn't play professionally anymore. In each of the 4 games, she would talk about how to put on equipment, line up, how to steal money, and how to support the jungle. She didn't seem to have changed. After so many years, she still had the aura of a queen. When she smiled, she was very beautiful. Do you understand? A string of comments appeared on the screen. I'm still memorizing. Goddess Luo, wait a little longer. Many people had mentioned this before. You guys always said that our goddess Luo relied on her face. Alright, that's right, she was indeed beautiful. Even if she admitted that she was beautiful, there would still be people who would release her ugly photos. Or perhaps it was just playing esports. Was everyone relying on their looks now? What kind of custom was this? Chapter 1503. Her occasional mistakes would attract scolding. Similarly, there would be countless people standing behind him to support him. For a long period of time, Luo felt a sense of fear. She was afraid that her hand speed wouldn't be able to keep up. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to perform well in the competition. These things seemed to have been covered up by her daily practice. Only when you truly had the skills could you not be completely defeated when everything came to you. But it was always like this, day after day, year after year. There was one thing that she couldn't change. That was her state. When she saw Shui Yaoyao, she could be at ease. She believed that one day, someone would replace her. She liked that person the first time she saw her. It was as though she had a shadow of herself. It was time to make that decision. No matter how much she missed it. Luo stopped typing on the keyboard. She pointed the camera at her face and adjusted the black earpiece on her head. I'm going to say something next. I started gaming when I was 16. It has been 6 years now. During these 6 years, I got to know a lot of people. They are very cute. When I wasn't known, they told me to work hard, you can do it. When I entered the finals and appeared in front of everyone as the top sorcerer in the entire server, they said, look, that's the esports player I like. When I was at my lowest point, they said that they would never leave me. Hence, I feel that it's best to tell them face to face. I have decided to retire. The moment she said the last 5 words, the people in front of their screens froze. The fans who were still remembering the attire in the game were even more confused. The comments kept popping up. Retire? Why? It must be a lie, right? Goddess, tell me, you must be joking, right? What joke? It must be a publicity stunt. Change to another team and continue playing. The fans really believed it. I'm speechless. Can the one above stop talking first? Manager, where's the manager? The manager was a fan too. She was a hardcore fan. In reality, she already knew about this a few months ago. At that time, Boss Luo had mentioned it to them, but they hadn't expected it to happen so quickly. Everyone who had liked esports players didn't want to see them leave. No matter who he liked, it was the same. As a highly ranked sorcerer in the national server, the news of Luoluo's retirement was like a bomb on the internet. Someone immediately contacted Xiangnan's manager. The manager's reply was, "We respect the contestant's decision." In an instant, the news of Xiangnan team, flawless Luoluo officially announcing her retirement from today, could be seen everywhere. Lin Feng didn't expect to come out after watching a movie. He hadn't thought of how to face Yunhu, who had risen from brother to boyfriend. When she saw this message, she immediately wanted to ask Xiao Jing for confirmation. What a joke. Luoluo retired. He retired just like that? Even if he were to retire, it should be on the national battlefield, no, the battlefield of the world. Before Lin Feng could make the call, Bo Jiu reached out and held onto his wrist. What are you doing? Chapter 1504. It shouldn't have much to do with what Xiao Jing said. Bo Jiu swiped the screen twice. She lowered her eyes, revealing her long lashes. Her side profile didn't have the usual devilish vibe. Instead, a cold aura swept past her chin. Luoluo probably wanted to retire a long time ago. During the National League, she probably wanted to announce it, but Xiangnan lost. It wasn't a suitable time to do so. After all, the loser would be exposed to a lot of negative comments. Hence, she didn't say it back then. She kept it until now because she didn't want Xiangnan to suffer even more. She probably didn't want people to say that Xiangnan couldn't make it anymore. That's why she chose to say it today. It wasn't too early or too late, it was the perfect time. Lin Feng grabbed his hair when he heard Bo Jiu's words. He became much quieter. It was because he knew very well that all of them would retire sooner or later. It was impossible for him not to feel depressed. Bo Jiu placed her arm on his shoulder and changed her expression. Instead of thinking so much, why not let Luoluo retire without any regrets? Lin Feng didn't understand. How can she not have any regrets? There are so many male almighties in the industry. Is it difficult to give her a boyfriend? Bo Jiu blinked her left eye, looking devilish. Lin Feng was instantly energized. He immediately opened his contact list and started contacting Bo Hu. When Yunhu saw this, he stretched his hand out. Pass me the car keys, I'm going down to warm up the car. Lin Feng didn't mind how intimate it was to ask for the car keys. He tossed the keys over casually. Bo Jiu tilted her head and smiled. Then she lifted her chin. Before introducing a boyfriend to Luoluo, do you need me to help you settle Almighty Yun? Lin Feng widened his eyes. F***ck, so fast. I'm not ready yet. Bo Jiu had originally wanted to teach him some strategies. Why did it seem like he had thought about it for a long time? Isn't it better to decide on some things as soon as possible? Bo Jiu went along with his words. When she revealed her canine teeth, her smile became more mischievous. Lin Feng pondered. That was indeed the case. Do you think Yunhu will think that I'm forcing him? Bo Jiu almost burst into laughter. Is it considered forcing someone I like? Almighty Yun would probably be more than happy to oblige. Lin Feng took a deep breath as if he had made an important decision. I understand. Bo Jiu arched a brow. I haven't said anything and you already know? We just have to prepare the items. Lin Feng scoffed, looking extremely confident. Yunhu can't beat me. Bo Jiu curved her thin lips. I wish you success. Wait for my good news. Lin Feng wanted to bump fists with her. It was Qin Mo who blocked her way. Qin Mo glanced at Lin. Jiu, Qin. Jiu. With Bo Hu. With his words. He. With B. With. Chapter 1505. Half-half. Bo Jiu's smile didn't change. As the vice captain of the Supreme Alliance, I have to care about the love lives of the team members. It's best if it can be digested internally. Oh, Chinemo replied slowly. But don't let the goodies flow to others. You want Lin Feng to take the initiative? Are you sure you aren't being naughty? I saw that he wasn't in a good mood, so I wanted to divert his attention. Bo Jiu paused. Luolua's retirement was too sudden. Chinemo was walking casually, but when he heard this, he glanced down. It won't be that fast. Not that fast? What did he mean? Before Bo Jiu could ask, Chinemo placed the popcorn in her hands. I'm done being Cupid with you. Isn't it time for you to go home and do what I like with me, Mrs. Chin? There was a type of person that you wouldn't understand if you didn't fall in love. Once you fell in love, you would realize. When there wasn't a competition. His life, other than sleeping and feeding the cat, would revolve around you. Undoubtedly, the Almighty was this type of person. Bo Jiu glanced at Chinemo, who was opening the car door. His face was so handsome that it seemed a little unreal. He didn't like to go out. It was hard to imagine that a decision he made could cause an economic upheaval in an entire city. When he had a video conference, he basically made her lie on the sofa with a bowl of sweets beside her. Anyway, he didn't allow her to leave his vicinity. He even made Princess watch her. Letting a cat look at her was basically an insult to her mobility. Hence, under normal circumstances, Bo Jiu wouldn't be able to sit still. But the Almighty seemed to have a plan every time he dealt with her. Once she couldn't sit still. He would raise his eyebrows and glance at her. Solo in the game? Come. Bo Jiu had always liked a solo match with the Almighty. But it was obvious that young Master Qin had never thought of going all out. Every time, he would place her on his long legs and the two of them would enter the game together. Even though they were playing a mobile game, that position affected Bo Jiu's performance. Ever since the two of them had been together, this person was getting more and more devilish. Fortunately, she was the one who kept him. But recently, it was still a little difficult to subdue him. She didn't know if it was because she had flirted too much. Now, the Almighty liked to hug her and talk to her while they played games. They would even go to the washroom. She wouldn't go. He smiled. What? Don't you want to come in and compare your size? She finally understood the feeling of having to fill up the hole that she had dug herself. She would lean against the door frame and whistle. When he went to the bathroom, she leaned against the doorframe and whistled. It seemed that after blowing for 3 times. After that, he wouldn't bring her to the washroom. Instead, he pressed her down on the sofa and bullied her. Or maybe it was spring, and someone was about to go to college. Chinemo always felt his throat burning, even now. He tugged his collar open and turned the steering wheel. When he glanced sideways at a certain someone eating popcorn, his eyes darkened. Bo Lin. Chin and Lin. Bo, Lin, she didn't. Lin, mo, Lin she. Luo emote. Mo Bo Chin Lin Chin Su Fong. 4, Bo. Chapter 1506. Bo Jiu was caught off guard. She watched as he took off his jacket slowly and took a step back. She wanted to turn around and avoid him. As though he had expected her to do this, Chin Mo took a step forward and pressed down on her long legs. His handsome face was so abstinent that it made her heart race. Didn't you say at the cinema that you will accompany me when you come back, MMH? The popcorn Bo Jiu was holding had already scattered. He took one and placed it between her lips. Then he lowered his head and kissed it gently. His breath was so fresh that she could smell the faint scent of mint. He was using the honey trap again. That was Bo Jiu's only thought. She couldn't reject him. But every time she was bullied by Chin Mo, Bo Jiu seemed to be pulled out of the water. Even though Chin Mo never went through with it, it was the same. Her long bangs fell down and covered her eyes. Bojo was still recovering when she heard him say, "I'm going to cut my hair." Bojo didn't mind. She took his arm and used it as a pillow. His handsome and mischievous face seemed obedient. "You don't want to cut it?" Chin Mo played with her hair, his gaze lowered. Bojo closed her eyes. "I'm too lazy to go out." Being a homebody was really contagious. Chin Mo said, "Get Madame Zhang to prepare it tomorrow. I'll cut it for you. You know how." Bojo opened her eyes lazily. Chin Mo caressed her head, his voice calm. "I'm experienced." Bojo was curious. "Who did you cut it for?" "Princess." Chin Mo remained expressionless. Bojo opened her eyes immediately. "Brother Mo, are you serious? What do you think?" Chin Mo asked. He was serious. Bojo tried. "I need a handsome hairstyle. It can't be ruined." "Why do you need to be handsome when you have a boyfriend?" Chin Mo's voice was slow. "I can't keep the gifts from the fans in the club." "Bojo, what if a jealous boyfriend wants to ruin my hairstyle?" "I'm waiting online. It's urgent." The next day. Chin Mo didn't really ruin her hairstyle. But he did cut it at home. The hairdresser was at the side guiding her. The way Chin Mo held the scissors and wore a white coat made him look even more seductive. After the haircut, Bojo looked much more refreshed. There weren't any stray hairs on her forehead and she looked like the school hunk. She was so handsome that the hairdresser couldn't help but sigh. Chin Mo brushed the stray hairs off his hands, changing out of his white coat and donning Supreme Alliance's uniform. His gaze was deep. So what if he was handsome? Other than him, no one else could have it. With this kind of situation, they would definitely be together in university. After the movie started, many people were asking who the Chinese teenager who acted as the hacker was. For a moment, the screen was flooded with topics. But soon, for some unknown reason, after just one night, these discussions suddenly disappeared. The director responded personally, saying that the actor was a friend of his and that it was a friendly act. He had no intention of making his debut. That's why he said that. It was because he had received a call from Bojo. She had told him that she wasn't going to enter this industry. Chin Mo agreed with this point. Before this, he had sent a lot of companies to the club. Chapter 1507. The group of entertainment companies didn't dare to come again after hearing Chin Mo's words. The Chin group could easily kill them with a single move. Be it money or resources, they were the best in the entire industry. And, fiancé, cough, 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 cough. It was easy to imagine the scene of the bosses of the entertainment companies choking. At that time, Chin Mo's assistant had been smiling from the side, thinking that flaunting his wealth wasn't the main point of his young master's words. The main point was to be proposed to. Boss Chin wanted the entire business circle to know that he was taken. Boss Lee, who had been asked by Chin Mo for advice on how to raise his brother, didn't receive any follow-up questions. There were also people who didn't change their minds and wanted to interact with Bojo alone. In the end, they realized that they had been too naive. Some people weren't people the media could follow even if they wanted to. The courtyard wasn't a place anyone could enter as they pleased. On the other hand, the retired big shots would often see Chin Mo bringing his little friend out for walks. Occasionally, he would ask the child to help carry the flowers and ask, "Have you done your homework?" As someone who was used to being left alone, Bojo would stiffen every time she was asked such a question. "We can talk about something else." After reaching school, Bojo didn't sleep. Instead, she took a book and started revising. She couldn't be at a loss for words every time she returned home when the Almighty asked her what she had learned today. The blonde from second high came looking for someone. The gist of it was that he wanted to study hard too. Bojo was slightly taken aback. She sized him up. "Study? You? The blonde gave her an expression that said, "Why can't I study hard for the person you love? Who wants to get into a better university? Let me work harder." Bojo replied, "Who is that?" "You know." The blonde suddenly felt embarrassed. Bojo tapped her fingers. "You want me to tutor you? Isn't it obvious?" The blonde swept a glance behind him. "I wanted them to tutor me." Bojo followed his gaze and saw a few street bullies scratching their ears and cheeks. They didn't even understand middle school English. "You probably didn't improve. You're telling me all the wrong answers," the blonde said angrily. "Bojo. Are you tutoring me or asking for answers?" "Expert, you have to save me." The blonde scratched the back of his head. "I can't do too badly. It doesn't show anything now. My mom said that when I enter society, it will depend on my education." Bojo arched a brow. "Wrong, once you enter society, you will see who your father is." Blondie's face was stiff. "When I can't make it anymore, I'll go home and inherit the family property." Bojo stuffed a hand into her pocket. She seemed to have thought of something and leaned forward slightly. "Is education very important?" In any case, her group of friends always think that I don't know anything. The way they look at me is really. Actually, I don't really care about it. Blondie tilted his head. "I don't want her to embarrass herself." Bojo's gaze dimmed. What if the girl's education level is low? People will probably talk about her after she enters society. The blonde was deep in thought. "I won't care. Some people with high education levels are tired of chatting. Do you know what they will talk to you about? They will discuss the progress of mankind and ask me how the theory of relativity came about. They will think that you don't understand because you are uncultured. Sigh, it's a blow." Chapter 1508. F***ck, my goddess just has to talk to me about games. The blonde glared. "Do we need to talk about anything else?" Bojo replied slowly, "Is it appropriate for someone with a girlfriend to call another girl a goddess? My girlfriend is a Luo fan. I followed my girlfriend's footsteps to become a Luo goddess," the blonde replied seriously. "Oh," Bojo replied. "What do you think about her retirement? I hope it won't be so soon." The blonde was unusually serious. Bojo tilted her head, deep in thought. The blonde watched from the side. The more he looked, the more he felt that it was unfair for a girl to be so handsome. More importantly, he would unknowingly treat her as a boy. He thought about the recent events and couldn't help asking, "Oh right, I have a request, expert. Can you not be so handsome the next time you appear?" Bojo arched a brow. "MMH? My girlfriend doesn't even look at me the moment you appear, she only stares at your video." The blonde sighed. "I even got a haircut for her but it didn't work." Bojo sized him up casually. "No wonder your hairstyle is so similar to mine. Isn't it handsome?" The blonde caressed his head, sending her an expression. Bojo laughed lightly. "How dare you ask me if I'm handsome? Aren't you asking to be humiliated?" The blonde, "All right, let's get back to the main topic." Bojo played with the lighter in her hands. "Don't look for me for revision, I'll give you a suggestion, look for your girlfriend, you can revise while deepening your relationship." The blonde's eyes lit up. "Expert, how did you think of such a good idea? Why else do you think I look for my almighty to revise?" Bojo laughed. "If you don't even have such a method to woo a beauty, how am I supposed to woo her?" The blonde choked. "Expert, does young Master Cheen know that you call young Master Cheen beauty? Why are you so concerned about the details?" Bojo flipped the lighter, looking nonchalant. The blonde could tell that she wanted to smoke, so he took one and passed it over. Bojo swept him a glance, biting on a lollipop. "I'm not smoking." "Master, are you kidding me? It's fine if you don't skip classes, but you don't even smoke anymore." The blonde was shocked. Bojo replied, "You have to be prepared to be clean when you get married. Quitting smoking isn't a big deal." Blondie. Young Master Chin probably doesn't know that you treat him as your wife. However, it was also the right choice to look for an expert. After all, he really didn't think that there was a way to improve their relationship while revising. This way, he could ask that person to come to his house. The more the blonde thought about it, the redder his face became. Don't look at how pure he was. After thinking about it for a while, even his ears turned red. When the people from Second High saw him, they were a little confused. "Boss, what's wrong with you?" "What do you mean?" "Go back and study," the blonde ordered. The few of them began to enter a state of selflessness again. They were the leaders of number 2 middle school, and now they were holding an English book every day. Seriously, he couldn't even fight when he went out to fight. What could he say? The power of love was truly great. On the other hand, everyone from number 1 middle school covered their mouths when they saw Bojo. Too cool. Chapter 1509. There must be some activity in the team today. Bojo wasn't wearing her school uniform. Instead, she was wearing a black uniform. She stood in the middle of a group of high school students. The current Bojo was completely different from when she had first arrived. She wasn't just a school hunk. She was like a celebrity but more mysterious than one. As an esports champion, she didn't spend much time in school. Moreover, she was about to graduate and there weren't any compulsory classes. Some students who were good at their craft had already left school. Hence, they had more freedom. One could imagine the reaction of the students when they saw her again. They walked round and round. Basically, there were cries of, "Ah." Someone couldn't help but ask, "Almighty Z, why are you wearing your uniform today?" They thought they wouldn't get an answer. Unexpectedly, the youngster stopped and said, "Supreme Alliance is recruiting. Those who aren't dressed neatly will be punished." Recruiting? This word didn't just arouse the curiosity of the students. Even some esports platforms started to become active. Supreme Alliance was recruiting? Everyone knew that Supreme Alliance had been recruiting previously. That was when they met Spade Z. The election held by Supreme Alliance was still fresh in their minds. The FC King of Zone C had appeared for the first time. She had even brought back north of the Een Mountain and the famous RMB player, Feng Shang. This time, they didn't know if Supreme Alliance would be able to achieve the same result. They could imagine that it had been a year since they saw Spade Z. A year. Time passed so quickly. No wonder Goddess Luo wanted to retire. The news from the past 2 days made the esports players feel uneasy. Goddess Luo had started to retire. What about San Pang, Almighty Shao? Almighty Qin? They had entered the professional team at the same time. Even now, the video from that year was still on the internet. The three of them were beautiful in terms of positioning and awareness. No matter who they surrounded, they would be able to trap. But the person they had met back then was Qin Mo. It was undoubtedly a feast for the eyes. Even if they lost. It made people feel that Xiangnan's era was coming. Then, it really came true. Qin Mo's hand was injured. In the Chinese esports industry, no one could stop the Xiangnan 3. From sorcerer to ADC, Luo Luo was experimenting. Because of this, people had a deep impression of it. This was probably the glory that belonged to them. Branded in their youth, how many people still remembered the days they had accompanied them? Emotions can't be stabilized. All the fans were the same. Because they had a premonition that their favorite almighties would start to retire one after another. Even such an outcome was unacceptable. However, they also understood that some things could not be forced. At this moment, such a piece of news came. Supreme Alliance was recruiting. The most interesting thing was that Almighty Qin wasn't the examiner this time. It was Spade Z. A media reporter asked, "Almighty Chin, why aren't you the chief examiner this time?" "I've made other preparations." Being asked like this, the fans thought about the issue of retirement again, and the uneasiness in their hearts just started to rise. In the video, Chin Mo tilted his handsome face and replied casually, "No, I'm accompanying Madam to be the assistant examiner." "Is there anything wrong with that?" The media. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.